Morning watchers, Scott at SE Landscaping on the week before Christmas, and I am, well, it's the Wednesday before Christmas, so 3 more working days, and today I am here to tackle this Privet Hedge and knock it back into shape. You can see it should have sort of half circles, and then there's balls on the top. Now the balls on the top, some of them I'll be cutting more than others because we lost a few balls a few years ago and we're trying to encourage them to come back. So what I'm trying to do is find a happy medium of the sizes. So you'll see some I'm just lightly trimming and others I'm cutting back. So that one there I'll be taking very little off, but sorry, that one there I won't be taking anything off the top, and that one there I'll be cutting back so that in maybe a year or two's time they will all be the same again. Yeah, so weapons of choice today, we have our HSA 100 which replaced the 86, and then we also have the short long reach HLA 86. So first thing I do on a morning with these is go to the van and I get the spray out, because even though I used these last night and put them away, I just like to spray again on a morning, and then I tend to spray every couple hours working really, and it's just a matter of just with the blades out there just running down. Same with this one, and when I put them away on the night I try to put them away so the blades aren't against the blades, because that doesn't help, that causes them to stick. So just try and leave them open on a night when you put stuff away, and then just give them a quick run. There we go, and then that can go away for a couple hours. Now, what I'm hearing a lot of at the moment is people complaining and going back to petrol because the batteries aren't working in the cold weather and everything. These batteries, if you leave them in your van, they need to be wrapped in some, these batteries need to be stored between 10 and 20 degrees. And I know that's difficult in the winter, but if you're leaving them in the back of a cold van, they ain't going to start up on a morning. You're going to have to put them in the cab to warm them up. Same with the machinery. There's a motor on this, and if it's in a cold van, ideally you just need some bubble wrap or like a blanket or just something. Just wrap them up on a night. It's not a lot to ask, because eventually we are going to have to rely on battery. So one day it is inevitable. But I'll take you over to the van. So obviously my batteries go into the charger at the unit, and then when I come to site they're in the van, so they are warm and they are at a decent temperature because you've got the heaters on. But the gear, I've got it hung up, and the motors aren't in contact with the cold ground. Yes, it's still cold in the van, but they're at a temperature where they will start up straight away when I take them out the van. If I was just to leave them on the floor in there, that is freezing cold. So the motor's not going to kick in. So even putting the bag down like that, that is a lot warmer than being on the floor. So it's just simple things that people need to adhere to get these machines working optimally. Because like I say, it's a battery at the end of the day. If your car battery didn't have a bonnet on, chances are your car wouldn't start on a regular basis, because they need to be protected. And that's why if you open your car bonnet, you've usually got some kind of a film under the bonnet which keeps the heat and everything in. So just little things like that. It's the same with this machine here. If it was a frosty day today and I left that machine on the floor with the battery in, and I was cutting with the other machine and then went for that machine, that ain't starting, because it needs to pick up the temperatures. And I know they say some brands are different, but in my opinion that's no good for the machines. And I think the Stihl gear is to be fair top quality, and it does the job if you look after it, maintain it and follow the instructions. So that's my rant over. Let's get round to some hedge pruning. So that's the sides done. But what I'm a big fan of is when you're working on the tops of hedges and your knees and everything are in the sides, I'm a big fan of just afterwards just going around again just to knock any bits off that's popped out. So it only takes 5 minutes just to shoot down a row just to catch any imperfections. So it is 12:15. And if we come round, that is everything pruned all the way down, just to clean up. So I'm gradually getting these into shape now, somewhere near similar size. I'll come on to that in a minute, because some were ruined by the weather and some were ruined by somebody who I let cut the hedge, unfortunately, once. So this, for instance, here, this should be central of that. So if you look, you've got a foot there, you've got about 6 inches there, because the lad cut a chunk out of the areas which I'll talk about in a bit, and obviously it's going to take probably a year to recover and get me back to where I've cut this hedge for 13 years, and I let someone cut it once, and that one time at band camp, that one time it was unfortunately ruined. So gradually getting back, but looks well, but to my eye it's only 90%, because there's still some work to do. So you'll have saw earlier in the clip there, the chipper. Basically I'm going to rake all these prunings up now, and there's a bed down the bottom which I'm going to chip it on, so that there'll be no waste to take away from the site. If we come up and have a look at the hedge cutters, I've rarely used the long one today, because having the ladders on the steps. So the long 300 battery has lost the light. This has probably done most of the 3.5 hours, and it's down to 1 bar. So 2 of them batteries will power a HSA 100 all day. And as we come back round, as I said earlier, no waste away. It's going down the bottom in a shrub bed, and there's the Elliott machine to get rid of it. So yes, what happened with this job was, I had a subcontractor who did some work for me. I think I've explained while I was on holiday, and he cut that hedge there, and in places he took a bit too much off and made a bit of a mess in places. But as well as that, it was the time. I allocated a maximum of 6 hours, and it took him a full day. He didn't get it finished, but as well as that, he had someone else with him who was cleaning up. So in total it worked out at about 20 hours on that hedge. So it never actually paid for itself doing what I did on holiday, unfortunately. And this is the problem. I see it all the time on Facebook and on YouTube and things, with people asking questions about hedges and price and jobs and getting it wrong, and this is why. Basically, a job like that is a 5-6 hour job maximum. That's start to finish. That's from going there to cleaning up and everything else. That's for an average, a decent guy to go at it. The problem is, a lot of guys in the industry who've come into the industry, who are not industry, who haven't been in the industry for years and years, they can't work like people who have been in the industry can. So what tends to happen is, they'll go to a job that, like the likes of me or similar people who've been in the industry for years, they'll go to a job that should take 5 hours for me. So they'll go to a job and they'll be looking at the job and they'll be thinking, oh yes, we need 2 men on this for a whole day and everything like that. And you give the price to the client, and the client's probably paid for 1 man for a whole day in the past. And because they're inexperienced and they've got no clue about pricing, or they've got no clue about how long a hedge should take, or they just haven't got to get up and go, they're not getting the work. And that's the reason why in this industry it's so hard to get your price right and to get the time right and everything else. And the only way is experience, and that's sort of 10-15 years experience. You don't pick things up overnight. So a lot of people do make mistakes in the trade. And like I say, the guy who I was trying to help, he came on as a subcontractor, and I was trying to help him. He was trying to push into commercial, and in the end it got to a point where A, he didn't have to get up and go, he was regularly off, and B, there was just no speed there or anything, and he wasn't picking stuff up. So he wasn't set out to be commercial, and I did advise him that probably best off a couple of years in the private sector, where he can go at a sort of a steady pace for a few years. So I'm not sure what he did decide in the end. It's whether he's still in the trade, or whether he went and did something that whether he did something more suitable, because he had come from a different background. He had worked in another sector. So yeah. So that's it for today. Another job done, another job ticked off, and winter pruning. I mean, I think I've said in the past, with having this Elliott chipper now, usually I would have a man behind me cleaning up, or I would be cleaning up and bagging it up and stuff. With having the Elliott chipper shredder there, it means that you're not carting things more than a couple of metres, you're not taking stuff off site, so you're actually doing away with needing a person. So you actually, it's paying, I keep saying it, but every time I use it, it's paying for itself and earning a hell of a lot of money. So it's well worth, one of my best investments. I should have bought one of these 5 years ago. Yes, I bought a chipper, but I should have bought a shredder 5 years ago. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Privet Hedge all done, and on to the next one tomorrow, and we will see you on the next video.